It's crossover time and Incredible Hulk Annual number 16. Welcome back to Read Your Comics. I am Daryl, your host, and I am continuing looking at the Peter David run of Incredible Hulk. I know you guys are ready to get into the Dale Keown issues. I am too, but we got to look at this annual first. And hey, it's Angel Medina, so what's to complain about here? Now, I don't know where his career was at this point. When I look it up, he did some Megaton comics in the late 80s, and he had done Dreadstar. But this may be his first Marvel work. Eventually, he gets to do some work on the Adam Warlock series, but that comes after the Infinity Gauntlet, which is much later than this. And he eventually gets to do a run of Incredible Hulk too, but it's around 1995, 96-ish, so several years off. This book is also part of a crossover that ran through annuals, just four of them. It was a 4-part series that went through Punisher, Daredevil, Hulk, and Silver Surfer, which is kind of an odd pairing when you think about it. I don't think it's really necessary that you read all 4 parts because it's kind of like you're really following this character, this Lifeform character around, and him interacting with the 4 characters of the annuals he was in. So this is just the one where he interacts with the Hulk. They explain the character enough in the story that I don't feel it necessary to cover the other chapters. And I don't have them, to be honest. I don't have the Punisher, Daredevil, or the Silver Surfer one. Probably not too hard to track down. I kind of considered getting them, but when I went ahead and read this a couple weeks back, I thought, you know what? There's no point in covering all 4 issues because the Hulk isn't even in those other parts. And since I'm doing it for the Peter David run, I'm just going to look at this particular one. If you guys really want me to cover those other issues, I'll go get them and I'll do them. Just, drop a comment saying, yeah, I want to see you cover the rest of the Lifeform annual crossover from 1990. Of course, being an annual, it is a much thicker issue, and there's some other stories in here that Peter David didn't write. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those, but I'll flip through them as we get towards the end of the video. But before I get started, I just want to give a reminder that if you're enjoying these top-down, page-by-page flip-throughs of old comics, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Also, drop a like. That really helps the channel grow and other comic fans find the channel. And lastly, if you've missed any of the Peter David issues, I do have a playlist. You can find it right there. And you can catch up on all of the run up to this point, maybe a little farther depending on when you watch this video. Now, as I was saying, Angel Medina did the cover here with Bob McLeod inking. Pretty solid cover. I mean, it lets you know there's this like kind of grotesque looking monster attacking the Hulk. It's kind of what we're going to get out of the book, right? It's an annual, so you get like a table of contents just to fill out the rest of the book here. And we're going to start out with this character that I initially thought was meant to be Bruce Banner, but it's not. It is the Lifeform character, and it seems like he's being interviewed or he's talking to somebody, dark room, close up on the face, and he's kind of explaining what's going on with him as this new character. Quick cut to the Hulk. Nice callback to Incredible Hulk #1 when the Hulk is hiding behind the rocks as the soldiers and the military guys went by. Appears we're still out west. Hey, look, it's only a half moon, not a full moon for a change. A great close up on the Hulk's face right here. I love the look of this. Definitely see what Angel Medina does much later in the run. We'll get there eventually, but I can kind of see it right there when I look back on his run. Anyway, the Hulk is seeing these soldiers pass by, and he thinks they're after him. But it turns out they're just out kind of on patrol doing maneuvers. But the Hulk takes a preemptive strike and attacks the soldiers. And you get a couple of nice pages of some, smashing going on right here. And this colonel gets annoyed with the Hulk, is like, we didn't even know you were here. We were just out doing maneuvers. You just attacked us. And even takes a swing at the Hulk and thinks differently about it after he did it, of course, and realizing he just messed up. But the Hulk also realizes he messed up and he just jumps off. Good facial expression right there on the Hulk too, as the the guy's yelling at him for attacking them and not the other way around. We get this interlude with Lifeform just keeping us up to date, and you'll notice his face is starting to boil and stuff a little bit more in each panel. We get some homeless people on the street, a guy who's saying he thinks he'd be better off dead, and the return of Mercy. This character showed up about midway through the McFarlane run. It's an alien that thinks she's come to help people on Earth, and when they're feeling depressed and lonely and stuff, she would kill them and think that she was releasing them of their pain and suffering. Kind of the opposite of what Glorian was doing during the Joe Fixit era, where he would give them illusions that made them feel happy. Anyway, she appears and pushes this dude in front of a truck. There's another lady that sees it. It says, like, you killed him. What are you doing? And that's where she explains, like, oh, I was releasing him from his pain and suffering. And she's like, just because he said that doesn't necessarily mean he really wanted to die. People have bad days. People just feel depressed on a random day and don't necessarily want to, off themselves or end everything. They're just having a bad day. And so she's like, well, I need to think about this. And she blips out. Pretty good use of the way she's drawn here is very reminiscent of the way McFarlane did it. The big hair, even the body positioning here feels like kind of how McFarlane had her too. And here's where we kind of wrap up the Daredevil part. So the previous part of this was in Daredevil, and this is just wrapping up his fight where he believes the Lifeform character to have been killed or disintegrated in his chapter. And that's all we really need. You don't have to read the Daredevil issue unless you just want to get the ending. The end result. We're on to the Hulk story now. But this is New York and it's Hell's Kitchen, so the Hulk obviously has traveled all the way from wherever it was out west with the military, and then he's jumped across the country and is now in near the New York area, I would imagine, because he's getting ready to take on the same thing that Daredevil just took on. That would actually make sense to fit between the previous issue we looked at with Sam Keith and Mr. Hyde on the train. The Hulk was headed towards Connecticut to find Betty. None of that is really mentioned in this, so you might be able to just kind of plop this in either before the countdown story or like after, as I am right now. It's kind of a nebulous time in that, like, let's say roughly a week of the Hulk's life. So the Hulk lands outside this old rundown theater, and he's just going to go in and kind of hang out for a little while. I think he's just wanting to be alone in his thoughts. Kind of goofy here. He's pretending like he's on stage and bowing and stuff. Not sure quite what that's about. You see the Lifeform character again doing the interview thing, deteriorating more and more when they hear somebody come into the room of wherever they are. And he gets up and walks out for a second. You see the sound effects, crack, crunch, crunch, slurp. And he comes back and he's eating something on a bone. And he's like, that had to be done. And look at this panel, man. It's looking like nice and grotesque here. Medina channeling some of the macabre. Good looking monster story right there. And he's going to kind of give a flashback onto his childhood and stuff with I guess, a very strict father wanting to raise his son to be a man. And the boy got to play with the guns, and the daughter did not. And he ends up going to work for AIM as he excels through school and stuff. The dad kind of gets him a job in AIM, and that's where he gets exposed to this chemical that turns him into this monster, turns him into this thing. And here's your recap of him taking on Punisher and Daredevil. All we needed to know. I got everything out of those 2 panels of what happened in those 2 annual issues without having to read them. And that's good, I think. I shouldn't feel obligated, especially like this was a $2 book back when most comics were $1. I shouldn't have felt obligated to go buy 2 other $2 books of titles that maybe I wasn't reading at the time anyway. Daredevil thought it was killed, but it reforms and comes back out of the water. Mercy shows up, and he's kind of tormented between being the life form monster and himself. He wants to die, but she's learned a valuable lesson from that lady on the street that maybe that's not the best idea. And she remembers the Hulk from before as someone that might be able to have a discussion with this creature about his duality, his conflicting personalities inside himself. So she zaps him to where the Hulk is in this theater. And the Hulk's in there pretending to be Igor. And these quotes up here are from Young Frankenstein, so that's some humor right there, right? And the Hulk immediately remembers her, but the life form monster attacks. And she's like, "No, no, we're not here to fight. We're here to talk." Because you got to be kidding. Maybe Banner would be good for something like that. He's the big one for yakking and getting into people's heads, but Banner's not here. And she says, "I'll fix that." And she turns into some goo and goes into him. Look at this profile right here. Look at that brow. Uh, Different artists, I think, on this Gray Hulk era, they struggle with that brow. Some of them have, they land it really well. McFarlane did. Purvis didn't pronounce the brow too much. We're gonna see Del Keown kind of hit that brow. That's kind of almost a thing like brow. I don't think he quite knew what to do with it, but I like the expression on the face. Good close up on an ear with the goop dripping out. Catching up with this character that I guess was in the Daredevil story too, and he used to work for AIM as well. He got bit by this monkey that was turning him into a life form also, and that's why he had some goop there. Ben Urich is interviewing him about it, and he feels like there's nothing that can be done. And Ben's like, "Well, there's one thing. I can go write my story." And it's made Ben sick even watching him, deteriorate like he's doing. So here's our narrator character also still continuing to turn into that creature on the front. Great close-ups here. I mean, Medina's pretty good at this like gruesome, grotesque monstrosity. I like this. I like the panels like this that break up close-ups on the eyes. Although the coloration makes it look like he's got a pretty wide head. It's kind of funny when I'm looking at it again. So Banner wakes up, and then all of a sudden the Hulk sits up too. Good interaction of the two of them. Like, what are you doing here? Or have we been separated? They're both like, this is some trick. And they both think that each of them is a copy that Mercy made. Like, Mercy's made a copy of you. You're the fake one. I'm the real one. But can't be sure. Can't be sure about that. And here comes the monster. And they're going to have a philosophical discussion about um, intent to do good or not do good. This creature is kind of driven by a hunger, and it's going back and forth between the human personality in it and then the monster taking it over as it goes. Good use of shadow right here of the Hulk to become more intimidating in that moment. I just really like the facial expressions Medina pulls off. Good close up of the eyes. Now the brow looks really good right there. It makes a lot more sense. It's just from that profile view. Musculature on the legs, solid work. I really enjoy the art in this. I think Medina's a quality artist, and I liked his Hulk run later on too. Some people probably thought it was a little too cartoony, maybe. So really, just enjoying the art of the fight here. Solid choreography, some interesting play with both Banner and the Hulk being there at the same time. Bringing the curtain down on the monster and just stomping it, stomping it into mush. And of course, the Hulk thinks that's the end of it for a second, but it rises up, throws Banner up into the lights up above, which fries him and makes the Hulk panic. It's funny. The Hulk hates Banner, but he realizes that Banner is part of him, and without Banner, he worries that that's kind of the end of him. So it's one of those things that's like he almost feels like he has to put up with until he has a assurance that Banner can be removed or eliminated without it harming himself. It's kind of the Hulk's only fear, I think, is that losing Banner would in turn make him lose himself. So now you got the Lifeform monster on fire. This looks awesome. Just some great, more fighting. Classic two bodies colliding as like a wrestling kind of maneuver. And they're going to bring the whole theater down. Good lighting on the Hulk's face right there, too. I like that a lot as well. So now, after it's over, they think that the monster's dead, just like Daredevil did, I suppose, in the last issue. And the Hulk is contemplating like what's going to happen to him when the sun comes up. If Banner is dead, will he still be the Hulk? Will he not be the Hulk? Will he change back and die? He doesn't know. So he's just willing to sit there and wait. But Mercy shows up and Mercy's like, "Yeah, Banner wasn't really there. It was me the whole time. You were right about that." And some good character dialogue here of Mercy saying, "Don't you believe in perseverance in the face of a hopeless cause?" "No, if it's hopeless, what's the point?" Typical Hulk response. "If Bruce Banner believed that, you wouldn't be here. He'd have killed you both long ago. So who's the wimp?" And as the sun comes up, it becomes Banner again. And he watches the theater continue to burn. Then we find out that the Lifeform character was talking to the guy in the hospital the whole time, and he's there to kill him and absorb his life formness, I guess. And this character will continue into a Silver Surfer annual. We're not going to follow that, at least not right now. I think it works well as a standalone Hulk story. This could have been a single issue of the Hulk, kind of a Monster of the Week issue. So I really enjoyed it. You got a Mark Teixeira pinup right here. That's quite the pictorial there on him. Usually love text, but I can't get over that and the tiny waist. So not in love with that. Here you get a She-Hulk story by Bill Mumy, written by Bill Mumy. Chris Wozniak doing the pencils. This is an okay story. It was She-Hulk. She's like scuba diving here. I don't know who this character. This must be somebody from the She-Hulk series that I've not really read, like a side character who meets this guy who has some big bushy eyebrows, like the way McFarlane draws them too, who talks him into like going to this shipwreck to look for treasure. She sees a shark, but she doesn't fight it. And it turns out this thing the guy wanted was some kind of chalice that held. Well, she gets the treasure box, and then he thought there was like a chalice that would hold a cup that had held water from the fountain of youth, and that had kept him alive for a few centuries or a few centuries, I think they said. He didn't know where the fountain was, but he needed this chalice, and where she's holding it, he chases her in. They fall in the water with the sharks, so I guess the sharks was just set up there. She-Hulk jumps in mostly to save her friend. She gets her friend out, and they're like, "We don't know what happened to the guy, but he apparently turns to dust because his time ran out." So it was an all right story. This is a fun one. Herb Trimpe doing the art of Banner just looking through a scrapbook of the Hulk, taking on different characters. Kind of recent history here. This is more like from the Byrne era, an older one from Tales to Astonish Days. You got the Wolverine Hulk battle from 340. That looks like an old one, but you got a Joe Fixit taking on Absorbing Man. Here you even have the Madman story from the Countdown that we just finished reading. That's a direct swipe from the Hulk 350 issue, I think. And as he's reading it, he turns into the Hulk. So kind of a fun, goofy story there. And a Doc Samson story by Alan Grant, Dan Reed. Mostly Doc Samson having dreams within dreams about fighting the Hulk, getting his butt kicked over and over again. And that's pretty much all it is. Dreams within dreams. He thinks he killed Banner, but he didn't kill Banner. He wakes up and realizes it was all an intense dream, but oh, it's still a dream. It's like it just keeps going deeper and deeper. And then when he wakes up, he's like, "Oh man, that was super intense, even to the point of analyzing myself." and you think it's over, but then you look in the mirror and his reflection is nefariously smiling at him. It says never the end. And that's the end of Incredible Hulk Annual number 16. I enjoyed the main Hulk story in it. I think it holds up pretty well. It fits in nicely with the overall run. Even though it's part 3 of 4 of this Lifeform story, I don't feel obligated to read parts 1, 2, and 4 unless I just really wanted to know more about the Lifeform character itself. It worked well as a single issue of Hulk. So kudos to Marvel for doing a crossover without making you feel that you had to have the whole thing. So that's it. That's all I got for this one. Be sure to hit up that Peter David playlist. And until next time, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.